Hi.
Hey guys.
Hey.
This is the Milestones of Diversity in American Education, Project 1, and we are Education 101.
Okay, I have the 17th century. I have the Boston Latin Grammar School, and this was during the 17th century, and the artifact I chose for this is the emblem for the school. The what this was the creation of the first school pretty much in American education. It was the first grammar school ever in the 17th century. It was created by the Puritans for more of the wealthy boys in America because that was when only the boys were allowed to go to school, the girls weren't. This school was established in 1635 in Boston, Massachusetts, hence why it's called Boston Latin Grammar School. And the reason this was built was for one of the first steps into education and to get the boys into higher level of education. The next one I did was the 18th century, and in this century was the first school built for girls, which was the Salem School, and the artifact I chose was the seal for the school. This was established for the girls in the school in America. It was established by the Moravians. It was established in 1772, and it was established to give women the right for education. So they actually were the ones who weren't allowed to do education anymore. It was established in Salem of North Carolina. Though it was established in the 18th century, it was reestablished in the 19th, and it was renamed Salem Academy in 1802.
Okay, so I chose to do the 19th century. Okay, my first milestone was Gallaudet University. So my preamble was people doing the sign language for Gallaudet, the first college for deaf. It used to be a grade school, and then it got changed into the first college for deaf and blind people that was specifically for them. Today, other people go there who aren't deaf and blind, but they learn about how to work with people who are deaf, blind, or deaf and blind. So my picture, my artifact was two railroad cars, and one says the Jim Crow car, and the other one says white folks. And the Jim Crow car was designated for African Americans to use that car, and they weren't allowed to go in the white one. So the incident was Plessy, who was a black man, got into the whites only railroad car. Then he obviously got arrested and went to court against the state of Louisiana. It was on June 7th, 1892. And the case was on May 18th, 1896, which was when the Supreme Court ruled against Plessy. So he lost the case, but he basically just did it to bring awareness to the fact that there was so much segregation in that time. So he just wanted to make a difference and change Louisiana.
Hey, so I did the 20th century, and the first milestone I chose was Brown versus the Board of Ed. So in the next slide, I'll talk about that Supreme Court case, which basically reversed Plessy versus Ferguson, which we learned about in the previous slide. The artifact I chose is a mallet to represent that it is the biggest court ruling to take place in a very long time in the 20th century. So what was it? It was a Supreme Court case that took place to try and desegregate schools. It took place because a man did not want his daughter to have to walk too far to get to the African American school when the white school was just a few blocks from the house. Who was involved? Linda Brown, the young girl who wanted to attend the white school but was told no due to her race, and her father, Oliver Brown, who argued for her to be able to go to the school. Also involved was the NAACP and Thurgood Marshall. It took place in 1954 in Topeka, Kansas. This case took place to allow black children to attend white schools and desegregate them. It reversed the previous ruling of Plessy v. Ferguson, which ruled separate but equal. So now the ruling is that separate but equal that's not a thing. That's not good. So the next milestone I chose was Engel versus Vitale. And we're going to discuss that Supreme Court case and how it ruled unconstitutional for officials to compose in-school prayer. And the artifact I chose was the cross over a Bible because it is symbolic of the case due to the fact that law enforcement was trying to make the schools enforce Catholic prayer in the school systems, even though some of the students did not believe in prayer. It was over the violation of the First Amendment and making children say prayers in school. Who was involved was Stephen Engel, a Jewish man who felt that the fact that the children need to say prayer in school was unconstitutional, and he filed the suit against the school board president, William Vitale. It took place June 25th, 1962 in New York. Why did this happen? It pressured students to say prayer in school, and parents found it unethical and filed a lawsuit because no student should have to say a prayer when that's not something they believe. And yeah.
Hello, I did the 21st century, which is from 2001 to the present day. My milestone was the approval of the No Child Left Behind Act. The approval and revision of the No Child Left Behind Act. The artifact that I used was the picture of the emblem that represents the No Child Left Behind Act. What was it? It was the law. It was a law which reauthorizes the ESCA of 1965 and replaces the Bilingual Education Act of 1968. It mandates high-stakes students testing, holds schools accountable for student achievement levels, and provides penalties for schools that do not make adequate yearly progress toward meeting the goals of the NCLB. By all accounts, it is the most sweeping education reform legislation since 1965 when President Lyndon B. Johnson passed his landmark Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Who was involved? It was George W. Bush, the national government, and the Congress. When was it? It was January 8th, 2002. It was in Washington, D.C., obviously. And why? It dramatically increases the role of the federal government in guaranteeing the quality of public education for all children in the United States. It increased funding for poor schools districts, high achievement for poor and minority students, and new measures to hold schools accountable for their students' progress.
What did I learn? I learned a lot regarding the case of Engel versus Vitale. I was not really familiar with the case, and I found it interesting. I found the thought of children reciting prayer in schools, I thought that was ruled unconstitutional much later, not in 1962, so the fact that it was so early really shocked me. And regarding Brown versus the Board of Education, that's like obviously a case everyone knows a lot about, and so I knew a lot about it, but it shocked me to learn how involved the NAACP got involved in the case, and Thurgood Marshall took such an
When researching both of these milestones, I learned a lot. Doing Plessy versus Ferguson, I actually knew a little bit before, but I thought that Plessy did win his case, so I learned that, like, even though he didn't, it still really raised awareness and, like, changed things in history. And I didn't know anything about Gallaudet University. I didn't know, like, what the first college for kids with special needs was, but I think it's awesome that it's still out there today and that people still attend, and it really helps deaf and blind people.
Who's next?
I'm just gonna use yours.
Okay, I learned a bunch during this project. I learned that the first school ever was the Boston Latin Grammar School for the higher education. Didn't really realize that was like the legit first school. And then also found out the first school for women in the United States was Salem College, or the Salem School for Girls, and that was in the 18th century. Didn't realize it was that early on that girls were able to go to school. And I kind of knew about Gallaudet, but I didn't realize it was one of the very first schools ever made for disabled and deaf children, which was really cool to find out. And it was cool to find out about the other centuries that the other girls did. And it really opened it to say that there are many milestones in the United States of education.
There you go. No, can't even see what I wrote. What I learned from this milestone is that the No Child Left Behind Act has a huge impact on the United States education system. I think it was really important for Congress to revise and reauthorize the different laws that they did pass in the past, but now that they made it new and more updated to this generation, so I think it really helped. But these are our references. These are most of these are more of the references. Here are some more. And here are the rest. Oh, there's some more. Okay. Should we all say bye?
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
For watching.